Okay, we are right at 3 o'clock on Monday, March 9th, 2020. We call to order the Human Rights Commission meeting of the City of Palm Springs. Who would like to share with us a couple of the goals this time? Let's just change it up a bit.
Okay.
You want to do a couple, and then we'll go down the row and each of us
Sure.
do a couple.
To develop community education programs and to investigate and mediate instances of discrimination of groups or in individuals.
All right, Harold, you want to grab the next two?
To bring persons and groups together in a common support of human rights issues. To acquire the fiscal and human resources necessary to support and accomplish the work of the Commission.
Glenn, how about the next two?
Okay, to promote diversity through the appointment of candidates to all city boards and commissions to proportionately reflect the diversity of the population of the city of Palm Springs. The commission and each committee shall develop goals and objectives annually for adoption by the commission.
And Terry, you get the last one.
Turn on my microphone here. The commission shall work closely with the mayor, city council, and city cabinet, and with all other city commissions and boards in joint endeavors that support the commission's mission statement and the city's goals and objectives.
All right, very good, thank you. Dale, do we have a roll call?
There is a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much. And since we don't have anybody here, do we even have to read it? All right, so we are set aside with item 4, public comments. There's no one here to make comments. So we're on item 5 already, approval of the minutes for January 13 and February 10. And the minutes are included in the packet, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes, or is there any discussion on any updates that need to be made?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it.
So we're approving the minutes for January 13th
Aye.
and February 10th as submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Minutes are accepted. Okay, now we're on to commission and staff comments. If we could start with Commissioner Andrade. Any comments that you would like to make at the start of our meeting?
No, I don't think so at this time. Thank you.
Coming around the bend.
Nothing this time.
Nothing at this time.
None at this time.
Well, very good. I welcome our vice chair back. Dale, you have anything? Okay. We are moving right along today. We're at 3:04. We're just cooking, aren't we? So item number 7, items for discussion. We do have a few items that we need to discuss today. So under committees, with the Palm Springs Police Department LGBT outreach, there were no hate crimes or hate crime incidences that were reported in the last month with the police department, so that's good news. And next up, I believe, is finance.
Okay, so I passed out a copy of the proposed budget to council. I'll send out a revised version. I noticed when I was writing this 5 o'clock this morning, there's an error on the fiscal year date, so I corrected it. So basically, on this budget, what we included was a carryover from last year's expenditure. Some of that, the 500 we spoke about in the legacy committee, it was to be allocated to the Desert Highlands community, and so that's included there. It looked like we didn't use retreat previously, and there was no discussion of any further retreat, so that line item was replaced with the legacy project at a request for $1,000 for seed money to get that project off the ground. Everything else is almost consistent. Marketing, if we're going to launch out some exposure and branding of the commission into the public more and having more public awareness, marketing was included in that, in addition to some of the promotional items we were talking about, maybe having at events, which the city was kind enough to respond with sustainable products that we could use at those type of events. And that's about it for the budget. Any questions?
I actually do have a question about the carryover. Do we need to carry over? Is this zero-based budgeting, like where you started at a new year?
The only thing that's carried over is from last year's film, the proceeds that we received. There was, I think, $1,100. That has been carried over. So
Okay.
it looks like you're allocating that to the legacy fund for this coming year, 1,000?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So is this the proper way to present a carryover? Because this doesn't seem to me like carryover should be below the bottom line.
Yeah, that's,
Yes, I'm a little, I think we need some clarification on legacy. We have, maybe the thing to do is, we need just a separate sheet that shows how the $1,000 is being spent. So if we have $1,000 in expenditures there, so what are those $1,000? Yeah, and then the awards and recognition, so we've got a $500 increase, and did you touch on that?
Right. So part of that allocation was going to the Desert Highlands community.
Okay, so so the proper way to do that, does that need to be included in this top portion, or since that's funds from last year aren't in reserve or carryover, shouldn't we add a different line item, that community or legacy outreach contribution or something?
Okay.
Because it shouldn't be included in our expense line item because we've already earned the money.
right.
So we don't want it to be looking like it's new money. It's already money that we've earned, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we've already earned it, and we're saying is that true?
So so that it isn't an expense, it was funds that were brought in and then decided to go someplace else.
Right.
And it didn't come out of our original budget granted to us by the city. The other question I have, so this is for next year, FYI 2021. So we probably don't need 6 badges next year because not everybody will be done.
Well, you need 3, 4,
So
possibly
I'm
5.
just looking at this, so then it's good to keep it at 6.
Probably.
Okay,
Well, you're gonna need maybe 5.
okay.
And then, maybe
Random people that might need a new
Maybe-
badge.
maybe-
Yeah,
no, maybe some-
they may have lost theirs.
Maybe somebody loses their.
Or they're,
So that's,
yeah, I get that part. Okay,
That was pretty consistent.
yeah. And then we're going to continue to go with the Harvey Milk and then have commissioners make their purchase to attend, which I think we have quite a few of us attending this year.
but we're talking, this is for Harvey Milk 2021.
You just have to stand up.
2021.
Yeah.
See, so I'm just trying to understand because it's a little
So
similar
is-
to
is
what's
that-
up
is the
top.
date right? We've already spent the money for Harvey Milk 2020.
Correct.
That's in the
Right.
current budget.
And that's
So
up
this is a
here,
budget for July
year.
2020.
Right.
So this is July 2020 to June 2021. Got it. So July 2020 to June.
So what you're approving is what you're going to make a recommendation to city council for next year's budget. So
for next July, or
Yes.
for July of 2020 to June of 2021.
Correct.
So is the legacy project funding correct that we're wanting to allocate $1,000 from July 1st, 2020?
Right, that's correct. And I think Terry's and myself, we're going to expand a little bit on the status of the legacy project here in a little bit. Clarification.
The other question I have, because I know way back, I can't remember if I got here in 2015, 16, 14, 15. I can't remember. But the budget wasn't, because the budget is what we get, right?
Correct.
It wasn't 2,000. It used to be like 5 or 1,000. It was way lower than 2,000. So I just, if we're going to give this to somebody, it should show those budgets, and I'm sure that I have them, from where it used to be, and now they raised it around
Isn't this?
16, 17.
These your figures?
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
but
ones
it,
always cut out.
it wasn't 2,000.
Okay.
Well,
I
I
think
would only-
when Dee Dee was here, we raised it.
well, the recommendation would be only for next year, so they
Right.
won't have.
So
the
it doesn't
prior-
matter
no.
about the history? Okay.
Question, would
Thanks,
it be
Dale.
appropriate to include something like, I mean, the increase of cost of expenses? There's almost, 9 years here? 2,000 is definitely a lot less now than it was in 2012. What are your thoughts?
What's the question?
For the requested budget line, because it's basically been $2,000 for the last almost 10 years.
Well, right now, we're asking, or this is asking for 3567.
The other thing that I've talked to a few people about, since this is a position that is voluntary and an application, and then to have to come in and pay, I'm not sure what the shirts cost these days, but I believe that it would be it would be a good thing to encourage all people who might not have an extra $40 for a shirt to build in, like, the purchase of 3 or 4 shirts into the budget, whether that comes out of our film earnings, but I do believe that that would be the right thing to do, is to not expect a person to go and purchase a shirt.
Okay?
I agree with that.
And that's just my thought.
Okay, so, and I know, Harold, you jumped in on this to take over. So, what is being presented right now is we're proposing a budget that is totaling 3567. So this is what we're saying we want to request from City Council for July 1, 2020 to June 31, 2021. We're requesting 3567 for a budget. So that's correct?
That's correct.
And in that 3567, are we including any donation amounts that would be generated from the Legacy Film project?
The only thing that was discussed on behalf of the Legacy Film project would go into the annual awards and recognition, and that's down below there for the Desert Highlands Community Award or grant or whatever we want to call it, and that's the only thing that was agreed to at that time.
Okay. I believe that should be pulled out of the budget, because I don't think we should be asking for City Council for contribution funding. And so that takes this budget down to $3,067.37. And then there's a request on the floor that there is $400 or thereabouts be added in additional marketing monies.
There's
Between
a
marketing and
promotional
promotional,
line, though,
what
for
are those dedicated for?
$400. Could the T-shirts come out of the promotional?
Yes. Yes, part of the T-shirts could potentially come out of marketing or promotional, depending on how we're looking at that. Marketing was, in some ways, to advertise maybe through social media and other means to kind of make the community more aware of the Legacy Project. And the promotional items were more based on event-type stuff and maybe parades and those type of things.
And then,
Put T-shirts.
so I would put them under promotional, because they have our logo on them. Would that be appropriate to put the T-shirts under promotional, and then the marketing is the separate piece?
I would say they could probably qualify on either
Yeah.
line item.
But, so then the line 2, that's the legacy project for 1,000, we aren't asking the city for $1,000 to go towards the legacy project, right?
I think the vision of the Legacy Project would be to have this line item on there just so we can maintain its consistency and it would be the commission's exposure to the community and something consistent that we can have together.
But as I understand it, we're anticipating hard expenses, and that's what we're building into the budget is some of those hard expenses. And if that's what that $1,000 is for, I think that's a justified number for us to keep in the budget. But
Would it be called legacy, or could it go, could
it's
it be?
community outreach,
Okay,
so I would change
That-
that line item.
that makes it easier for me to understand.
Okay, so why don't we, suggestion is just change marketing to $1,000, change the legacy project line item to community outreach, and that returns the budget that's being submitted to $3,567.37 as the request to city council for 2021.
If you add 1,000 to the marketing, then you're taking away the promotional?
No, we're just
Oh,
adding
we're sorry.
$500 to marketing, so marketing now is $1,000. Nothing else changes. The budget stays,
It changes,
oh,
right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There was $500 in the
Right.
legacy budget that has to come out.
Oh, okay.
It was under the,
Under the
It was under the
awards.
annual awards and recognition, so that's where we need to pull that back out.
So take 500 out of there. Okay.
321.90.
So
Makes
the
sense to me, now that
totals
I'm
are the
certain.
same.
I don't understand it anyways.
So that gets us back to $3,067.37.
Can I ask what the volunteer insurance is? That's for,
That, as I understand it, that's for us, right?
Yes, that's for the commission and boards. That's our proportionate amount for the 9 commissioners.
In case.
For
It's
equivalent to
for-
directors and officers insurance for us, our service.
Like-
board.
It's the same.
like, it's
It
more
doesn't
like errors and
change, it's just
omissions
that
than
they-
it is like
they
if we're
took
outside
500
and we
off of
slip
the
and
annual
fall or
awards
that kind of
and they
thing.
added it to the
Yeah,
marketing.
that's-
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good answer, thank you.
Okay, so annual awards and recognition is down to $321.90. Legacy project remains at the 1,000 level because our understanding is those are direct expenses, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Marketing goes to $1,000, and we're changing the name of Legacy Project to Community Outreach.
Correct,
Which
yeah.
is brings the total to $3,063.37. Is that added right? Took it out of there and put it back in here. Oh, it's the same. I keep getting mixed up on the $500 donation. Yeah, it's the same. We took it out and added on the other one. Okay, So with the changes as submitted or discussed, budget is being suggested that we bring forward to request $3,567.37. Do we have that correct?
It looks correct.
Yep.
Okay, so this is coming from committee. We need a motion on it? So I'll entertain a motion to adopt this as a suggested budget for the city manager, whoever gets it next? City manager's office? Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Harold, are you making them?
Make a motion of approval of the budget for July 2020 to June 2021.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any opposition? Passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so we got that done. Thank you for stepping in and taking care of that, Commissioner Ames. I appreciate that. Coming down to Cultural Affairs Committee, film screening update. Do we have one?
Do you want me to start?
Do you want?
I can. My light is on. We have been around the block with this a few times, and the current situation, which is actually kind of exacerbated by Nikki's illness, too, so she isn't able to take care of a lot of the things that she was in charge of. But anyway, even prior to that, we decided as a subcommittee that the best thing that we could do and the quickest thing that we could do to make this happen, because we did make a commitment to Desert Highlands that something was coming their way, is to set aside $500 for them. I believe it's going to be youth-oriented, correct, Harold? I mean, we want to do something for the youth via the neighborhood association, not the James O. Jesse Center, but via the neighborhood association. And it was preferred that we actually make a purchase, like a foosball table or basketballs or something of that nature, instead of a cash donation. So we'll need to work that piece out, but we did want to have an opportunity to have them come here, make a presentation, whether it's in the form of a big check or some physical things that we're going to donate, and maybe get a press release and that type of thing for just to document what we're doing and that we're following through with something for them, because we can't do what we originally said we would do. Does that make sense?
So weren't we, we originally had asked if they would like to work with us and be the beneficiary of the project for 2020-21.
That's correct.
So what project is going to be on the table to raise that money now?
We'll be using, as is indicated in the budget, last year's profits from the legacy film, because
And
we
didn't
don't
give
have
those
it.
away already? How much do we still have?
1,100.
Right.
We're budgeting around 1,000 for community outreach.
Yeah.
$500.
I don't know that we have structured this ask properly. We might want, I know we just passed it, but I feel as if we didn't structure what we're asking for appropriately through this, or even explained it properly. Because I don't know if council's going to get this budget request, what are they going to know about community outreach?
That's why we need some additional detail, has to be provided with the budget.
Right,
That
right.
specifically line items exactly what that community outreach expense is. I don't see us being able to show a $500 donation on our budget. That's why it's pulled off.
Yes.
So we need to look at, the thought that the commission would be involved in granting was all based on the idea that we would be creating a project to raise funds in the community that we then would in turn share with the community.
Exactly.
So we need to have that project that's a fundraiser. So we're raising those funds that we in turn then are wanting to share with the community. And I don't think we have the money left over from last year.
It did carry forward.
Right.
And how much are we talking?
You have 1,100 and something, I believe?
1,123.96.
Right. And that's unencumbered dollars right at the end of the budget year.
Okay, so if we don't know this is even going to be approved, so we need to wait until we see the June that this gets approved. There's no indication anything's going to change from the $2,000 level. So we already may be shy from funding that we're intending to, these expenses that we're intending to get involved in, that part of this reserve will need to be used for this coming year. So I think we'll need to table the discussion on community grant and a program for 2020 until we know where this budget's going to set, so we know how much of this reserve is going to be needed for other program activity.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, that we need to wait until we know where we're going to be?
Yes, and I think, too, that if there is going to be a gift made to any organization, that we have to have the specifics of where it's going and how it will benefit, because there's many organizations out there that could want our help. So when we gave the 1,000 to this center last year, that was clear. It's going there, and that's what it's going to help to have them run.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to be mindful of the things that we adopt and we gift to. We have to be sure that it's going where it's supposed to go.
Sure, a defined program. So the funds last year were encumbered for commission operations for 50% and 50% to the charitable community outreach with the center. So the $1,100.23 that we have on the books now, we can come back and change our decision on where we want those funds encumbered. But as Vice Chair is saying, if we're going to establish a granting program, we need to define what those policies and procedures are, so it's something that's equitable in the community. If it's not based or grounded in this legacy project that we've been talking about. So as long as we have the project that we're partnering with the community, I think everything worked out fine where we're able to raise funds for that particular entity. And last year's funds were earmarked 50-50, commission, the center. So I think what we've got to do is since we're submitting a budget that is $1,500 more than what has been given to the commission for the last 8 years, we probably are wise to wait and see what council's going to approve for this coming year. And then we could reassess, where do we need any of these additional funds to pay for the programming that we are suggesting in the budget. And then that gives us a couple more months to figure out what type of community project may come up. Like I remember there was the discussion of the basketball game. If the film project is going to happen, is there something else that's going to replace that fundraiser so we can raise funds for Desert Highlands?
And I think that one of those things to raise those funds, and if we had more time before the Black History Parade, and somebody had said, let's have a booth, but we didn't have the time. But if we plan ahead and we can have a booth next year, then we can designate the funds over the cost of whatever it is that we choose to do at the booth to them.
Okay,
Just an idea.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a great idea to have them come in and talk with us too.
Talk with us.
About, you had said that they were interested in coming to talk to us about things that they might need.
Actually, more, I think the decision was made to do this giving.
Right.
And we thought that that would be an opportunity for them to receive the
Right.
giving, more than them coming
Oh, okay.
to give us
Okay.
information.
Okay, okay.
But I think we engaged in a conversation with community players based on the fact that we were going to have a legacy project.
Exactly,
And then that project was going to raise funds, so that's where
right.
this discussion.
I understand that,
yeah,
yes.
okay. All right, so I was just wanting to make sure I understood it too.
Yes.
Okay, so where do we go from here? So with regard to the film screening / legacy project, what's our next step there? What's next for the committee?
So my recommendation, since I'm pretty much the committee at the moment, would
Okay.
be to ask one of the other commissioners to join the subcommittee.
I'll join
Okay, thank you.
with you if that's okay with everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't know if I was officially on the committee or just asked to help. I'm not sure what yeah,
So do you want to be on the
Yeah,
committee?
we can have up to 3.
We have your name listed.
I know you do. Yeah, and I wasn't sure if it was official or just in Nikki's absence. But sure, yes, I'll be on that committee.
Great.
We like to
can have
continue
coffee.
with that project. We thought it was good. It's just that this year, we kind of backed into it, and we just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
It really requires some planning and some logistics that,
And there's no harm, no foul if it isn't happening this February, March. April.
Right, right.
It could be worked now for next February, March, or April.
exactly, that's what we thought.
Okay. Okay, so is there any action that we need on 7A or Cultural Affairs Committee film screening?
No action, I
A?
don't think.
Okay, Community Service Awards, there's no action on that committee. Desert Highland Gateway Association, did we have any updates on their last meeting? Commissioner Flood?
No, I didn't go last month, but I plan to go, I think it's tomorrow, I believe.
Okay. Okay, coming on down, any veterans issues updates?
Just FYI, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs has a blog that I'm trying to monitor periodically, and I get their newsletter. And we all know that they have the Veteran Affairs hospitals sort of problematic in certain areas. But the VA does a lot of other things to help veterans, and I'm just one of the things is getting employers to hire veterans. So they have a pretty dynamic program on that. Something they call the 2020 Hire Vets Medallion Award application, and they put that out to nationwide for employers to participate. So I think it's a good thing to try to help the veterans, those who might be suffering from certain medical conditions or just can't find a job after they get out of the service and things like that. So I think it's a worthwhile program. I keep track of that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Youth Education Affairs Committee. Vice Chair.
We have an application. Is it okay if I pass that around?
Sure. If everybody reads quickly.
So, 2 or 3 months ago,
2?
we had Solange Senior here. She's been active in Boo to Bullying and the Rotary, and came to speak with us. I'm trying to remember 2 months ago, and seemed like she would be interested, so we mentioned to her father, who came to present to us, that it was hard to get applicants for young people to our group. It's been 2.5 years since we've had a student rep. And it's good to have them for a number of reasons. They can share with us the challenges that are happening in their schools. They get to participate in local government, and she appears to be a viable applicant for us. So I would like to put a motion out. What would I do with that? Motion that we consider inviting her to join us. The only thing is that we only have the rest of this year, which is only a few months, and then I can't remember how it used to go, but do the students have to reapply every year?
We'd have to look at the guidelines,
Yeah,
but the term does say
I
September to August.
Can't remember.
So it would be her option if she wanted to continue
Right.
during summertime,
So
I
it
guess.
might be just nice to get her in here to
Yeah.
try it and see if she thinks that it's a good fit for her.
So we have a motion. Is there a second to appoint Solange Signoret to the commission as our student representative?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Just a discussion, is there a place
We can
for-
discuss, no?
Okay, just have a question about the process. So a student we can actually bring on ourselves without this, they don't go through the process that we
The commission has
do?
had a student spot for many, many, many
Right.
years. We're the only commission that has.
We've had
Right.
two.
What has
Right.
just been formalized by the city council is a formal position for students, but that hasn't been defined yet, as I understand it. We are continuing to operate as we always have with a student
Right.
representative. So this application has been made available to any student to self-nominate who goes to school in Palm Springs through the city website. And prior to her dad even being here, I talked with Solange and let her know, she expressed interest. So she self-nominated. So this is new for us, is allowing students to self-nominate, which is, I think, a good
We-
a good move. Before it used to be administrator
Right.
appointed from the campus.
Right, we did spend, because before, the representatives were usually a relative of one of the commissioners. But then, when those students aged out and we were going to principals and to the district office to say, do you have anybody and who can we talk to? We just couldn't get it going.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea. I just wasn't sure if they had to go through the same process that we did.
Well, up to
So,
this point,
no.
they don't
Okay,
vote. So
perfect.
she's
Okay.
not a vote, she would not be a voting member,
Right.
and that's why it's been handled differently.
I see.
Now, the new procedures that are going to come from city council
Right.
may change her role slightly.
Exactly.
But we'll deal with that when that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they're voting or they are not voting in the new.
The discussion in front of council is a youth commission, and the role of that commission has not yet been
Yeah.
determined.
Yeah.
So this is a student representative position.
So our student, whoever it is, they come on and they're commissioners, but they don't have a voting role because they're minors. so they don't have the voting, but they are allowed to have input and contribute to conversation
And
as much as they'd like to.
participate in our parades and our events, but there is still another vacancy too.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know anybody, I have one candidate still, but they can't get here at 3 o'clock, so,
Yeah,
but yeah.
Middle school.
middle school position,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so if there's no other discussion, we will, all in favor of the motion on the floor to appoint Solange Signoret as the student representative for the Human Rights Commission, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Abstention? Motion carries. Wonderful, thank you. Next up, we have Executive Committee report. We've been asked by the, what's the committee? Sustainability Commission to assist with them. They've been asked by City Council to present a smoking ordinance for the city. So if you recall, sometime last year or some time ago, we did endorse and support some language of a proposed ordinance. And we endorsed that and with recommendation to City Council. Well, now City Council's gone to Sustainability and is asking Sustainability to actually draw up a specific ordinance for the city of Palm Springs. Sustainability is asking if we would like to have a representative work with them to review the ordinance and comment on the proposal. So do we have somebody currently sitting on the commission that would like to serve in that capacity with the Sustainability Commission?
And the times of those meetings would be in the daytime, correct?
Now, I'm sure they're
During the
moving
day?
theirs to nighttime, but I don't know. Do you have any idea, Dan?
The subcommittee, I think, are meeting during the day.
Yeah.
I don't believe it would be a requirement to go to the full commission meeting, which is of the evening.
Okay.
So you're just work as a study group session, and I believe those would be during the day.
Are you the liaison for them?
No.
Who is?
One of our staff members, Patrick, I don't remember Patrick's
Okay.
last name.
Yeah. Okay, any other interest? Is that something that you're interested in?
Not in the daytime,
Oh, that's right, okay.
sorry.
Any others have any interest on working on the smoking ordinance? Okay, we'll bring it back around when the new commissioners are on, and maybe one of them might have an interest in.
And if they could give us some idea about
little
when those,
detail.
when they meet, that might help us all
Yes.
to decide if we
What we
could
can
do that.
commit to, right?
Because that's the only concern, I
Right.
think.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay, March 1st, Zero Discrimination Day. Do we have anybody wishing to speak on Zero Discrimination Day? It's one of the dates that was noted on our months of distinction. Next up is April 7th, World Health Day, another date on our list of dates of distinction. And our next meeting is,
The 13th. So it's prior.
yeah. Nothing on mediation or retreat. We go into topical and newsworthy items. Do we have any topical and newsworthy items? Nothing?
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
What did we decide about the 1 PS picnic? I've lost track of my notes on that. Are we participating?
Yes, I was going to talk about that today, so I can talk about it once we go through what you're already working on right now on this other piece, or do you want me to talk
Well,
about it
you're-
now?
you're
I missed it.
We'll go back to that line
Been
item.
out of the house
okay,
for a while, I'm sorry, Ron.
We'll go back to that.
I have nothing else.
Okay. Commissioner Ames?
For topical
News
newsworthy?
and topical newsworthy items.
Not at the moment. So I'm assuming if I have an action item for next month to include it in 8, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we will move back up to
Want
the
me to-
master calendar.
Talk about the picnic?
Vice Chair
Okay.
has an item on the
So-
master calendar.
So the picnic is coming up on March 20th?
21st?
21st. And we had 3 or 4 of us were going to be there in the current condition that I'm in. I'm not sure that I can be out there in that heat. I'll try, but we have to go back because I couldn't lift the bag that I bring, so I don't even have notes on that, but I know that people said that they could be there at 10 and then go. We don't usually go all the way until 2 because people wrap it up and it gets hot. So I believe it was me and Glenn and Harold, and I think, Ron, you said you'd be there for a little bit?
I didn't think that I needed to because
Okay.
we had full commission
No
support for
problem.
that.
I don't know if I can be there,
Yeah,
but
so
if
I'll
I can, I
substitute for you
will.
if you're not able to. But when you check your notes, if you can email us, but we did get everybody committed to being there for, I think,
Right,
almost the
to,
whole
yeah,
time period.
it
Yeah.
was the whole 10 to 2, and we just had to have the pop-up. And then I have the banner still. So, and that's coming up. So I will email Dale at the end of the week. And, because it's a week from Saturday, am I right? My calendar's all messed up. 2 weeks from Saturday.
Yeah, it's a week from Saturday.
It's a week, yeah. So, we have to get the pop-up out of storage. I can't do that unless anybody has a pop-up at home. I did complete the fax application. Did you get it? Good. And so they'll have the chairs and the tables. We just have to have the pop-up, and then we'll want the banner. So I'll just email you at the end of the week.
Okay, since it is the 21st, which is 2 weekends from now, can we restate who has it on their schedule to be there? So from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., typically that means 9 a.m. setup. So who remembers saying that they would be there at 9 a.m.?
I'll do that,
To set up.
and I'll do the initial setup, the pop-up, the banner, that kind of thing. I think there's a table cover, and
Mm-hmm.
Dale, do you have our brochures and the few?
I
mark-
believe.
They're in
think
the
you did.
storage, yeah.
Yeah.
So, with the
If you
pop-up.
just make those available to me, then, yeah, I'll make sure we get it. And
So then, Terry, you're there, you're able to do 9 to when?
I'll do 9 to 11.
Okay? 9 to 11 with Terry.
And
And you
I,
know, you get a free lunch coupon too.
Mm-hmm.
So then, Glenn, what time were you able to be
I
there?
was going to start about 10.
10 to the whole thing? Were you the whole
Probably
thing?
to about 1 at least. If you want to.
It's a
Okay.
good idea to overlap. It's kind of nice.
10 to 1 p.m., Glenn? All right, and Harold, I don't remember,
I can help out from 9 to maybe 12,
Okay,
help you set up.
okay.
so 9 to 12. Okay, so we got some overlap there. We just need to worry about closing from 1 to 2. So 1 to 2 closing. And I definitely can be there to take everything down for sure.
Okay, that's,
And then I
So that
will
would be Ron.
be there if I can. I'll call on Terry for a ride if I can
Sure.
be there.
Okay, Harold, we have you 9 to 12. You'll help set up with Terry, who's scheduled from 9 to 11. Glenn, we've got you from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then I will definitely be there from at least 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to tear down and pack things back up into the car. And Denise will be there if she's able to.
Right, and then we've got the table cover, so I don't know if we want the banner too.
I don't think we used the banner.
Okay.
Oh, we had that stand-up banner.
Yeah, that's got to be in the storage,
Okay.
because I only have the parade banner
Do you remember we had that stand-up one?
vaguely.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thanks, Ron.
And as a reminder, we don't have anybody heading up the master calendar community outreach events. If we have a commissioner who would like to take that on, those responsibilities are exactly what we just did, getting people to confirm their participation and what's happening at different outreach events that we may be involved in. So if you get to the point where that sounds like something that's exciting for you, let us know and we'll put you in charge of it. Okay, did we miss anything else that we need to go back to? We're good? All right, so next we've got an action item, the Human Rights Commission meeting times. So as you might be aware, City Council has agreed that all boards and commissions should be moving as quickly as they can to shift their meeting times from 3 o'clock to 5:30. And we all know we've tried different start times, including 5:30, and didn't feel that we saw any increased in input from community participation, and actually had a feeling that it may draw fewer people because the stakeholders that come to our meeting wouldn't be as willing to come after their work hours. So where we're at today is the council's asking that we shift the meeting times so they begin at 5:30 p.m. There is opportunity to request exception under the following circumstances. 2 options. If an existing commission would need to resign, a commissioner would need to resign due to the time change, the commission may defer to making the change until July 1st of 2020. Do we have any current commissions that would have to resign because our meeting time change would shift to 5:30 versus 3 o'clock? No? So that condition doesn't apply to us. So second circumstance, if the commission believes that residents are not better served by the change in time, it may submit a request to City Council for an exception or waiver to the start time. Are we so inclined to feel that residents would not be better served by keeping a 3 o'clock time frame versus a 5:30 time frame? Any discussion on that? Feelings one way or another?
I think it's interesting that we actually made our own, way into that change, and as you just said, didn't notice any kind of a difference. So I don't know if that argues for as experience or what, but yeah. See how everyone else feels.
My preference actually would be to move to 5:30. I'm generally in hospital all day till about 5, and so it's kind of impacting on kind of my general life.
I think that it's clear by our attendance today that we don't have a clear answer to whether it would impact us or it wouldn't. We changed our times, and there wasn't a whole bunch of change that that we saw. The only thing that I think that it could impact would be the student participation, but kiddos go and volunteer in evening things all of the time, so I don't think that there's going to be any impact one way or the other. It sounds like it has to change by July 2020.
No earlier than later. So
Right,
we're
Right.
requested to
right,
do it now.
But it's
By-
going to
yeah.
change in either case.
Unless we want to
Right.
submit one of
Yeah.
these circumstances.
Yeah.
So we don't have a favor one way or another, so I'll entertain a motion that the Human Rights Commission adopts a new meeting time of 5:30, starting with the April 13th meeting?
Correct.
April 13th meeting, that our meetings will start at 5:30. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition to that start time? Terry, you're not hitting your button fast enough.
Aye.
Yeah, you make the motion? Is there a motion? and a
Oh,
second?
Yeah, you never-
I
you didn't
can't make the
even-
motion at the same time. So I entertain a motion from the floor.
Motion.
So moved by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Ames. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No abstentions? Motion carries. Our meeting time, starting April 13th, will be at 5:30. Okay, next up, item, oh, did I miss something else? Where was I supposed to do this, Dale?
That's for the next
Oh,
month's meeting.
thank you. Okay, agenda items for the next HRC meeting. Harold, you had something that you wanted to bring on?
So I'm not sure what the structural approach would be. I'd like to have a discussion specifically, since it affects the vets here in Palm Springs, about our local VA center and some of the quality of services there.
So what's the subject you'd like, the heading?
Quality of services.
Quality of
or
services.
Quality of customer service at the VA.
Okay. Any other agenda items for our next meeting? Okay, I have one that we're being asked to address, and City Council's referring a work plan to commissions, and the Human Rights Commission is being asked to look at the issue and topic of renaming streets, specifically the Martin Luther King Jr. Street, Lawrence Crosley, Harvey Milk, and Barack Obama. So we will agendize that for our next meeting, and we will be able to have discussion on that request from City Council, okay? All right, anything else we need to put on the next meeting's agenda?
Who will contact our student?
I will.
Okay,
So I'll contact the student.
okay.
Okay, we're good? Dale, do you have anything else we need to add?
Nothing else.
I have a question, though, real quick.
Yeah.
And it's on the mediation, because my name is always to report on that. So do I have any direction about, do you want to start looking at the groups that might do training, or do we wait until we have a full commission, or what's your preference?
So one of the thoughts that we've had previously is that if there's any commissioner is interested in going to the training, we can get that done now, or that should be done now if there's any people of interest. So if you are interested in going to the training, Riverside County has a training that they do. And Dale, do you know any specifics on that, or we'll have to pull it up?
We'll have to pull it up, but a former commission member, Suzanne Severin, she is a mediation trainer, and she's willing to offer that to those who are interested. So, I mean.
Is she still here? She's
Back on staff.
Yes.
back on staff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
All right,
back on
so-
city staff, yeah.
So would you contact her and find out what, the terms of
I will,
participation
and
might be?
I'll see the timing of the new commissioners coming on to the commission, and then be able to see if there's any further interest.
Right, you're right, because if there's several of us, she may as well do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And there is, on at least one of the new commissioners coming on, so I'm sure we're going to be able to position her to be on the subcommittee with you. I guess we do have three, we're waiting, the status of commissioners, we're waiting on city council now to approve the appointment of three new commissioners that have gone through the interview process. So we have three, now it's just waiting for the approval, and hopefully it will be on the next city council meeting agenda. I don't know when that next meeting is. It's not this week?
It is,
Maybe it is this week?
I believe so.
Oh, so it may be soon. So good, there's good progress there. Okay, so if there's we don't have any other agenda items, no other announcements, we will adjourn. The commission will adjourn to a regular adjourned meeting Monday, April 13 at 5:30 PM in the city council small conference room. We're done. Thank you all.